Can you hear me? Alright, so good afternoon, everyone. On behalf of the team, Let Your Stay in Plant, I would like to welcome you to this session, which is going to be moderated by myself. So the title of our session this afternoon is HIV prevention, right place, right time. Right? I think there's been a lot of, you agree with me that there's been a lot of conversation around HIV prevention in this conference. Other than COVID, I think we are going through an HIV prevention revolution, and I think we are going to agree with me. And I think we are, for the first time, I think we've seen the efforts, right, and the recognition of the importance of investing in HIV primary prevention. Because I think for a long time we've been believing that, yes, treatment as prevention is the way to go. But I think again, at the same time, we do realize that yes, as much as treatment as prevention and the U equals U is really important for the HIV response. But if we are to reduce the number of HIV infections, if we are to end AIDS by 2030 rather, we need a combination of both U equals U, but also primary prevention, which is why we're so excited that we have a number of new HIV prevention tools on the market. Some are still in research. So it's an exciting moment indeed. We're going through an HIV prevention revolution. So today we have three amazing speakers that are going to share with us some insights, their thoughts, but also maybe some key takeaways as we are today being the last day of the conference. As we're going to that point, what is it that we should be doing? What should be done in terms of HIV prevention moving forward? So our first speaker will be from Daphne Namo. She's from Nigeria, Zimbabwe. Right here from our hosts, the ones that are hosting the ICASA conference. And then we'll also hear from Yvette Raphael, who is from APA, and all the way from South Africa. And last, we'll hear from Chilusa Hakoko from TAG, Zambia. So just to give you a lot of show, we'll let our speakers share, present, but also share some insights. And then after they are presented, we'll have a moment for you to ask questions, but also to share your insights. So we don't expect you only to ask questions, but we also like to hear from you, like what are your insights, key takeaways. Just like I've said, this is the last day, so we want to come up with some concrete actions in terms of what is it. All of us in our respective capacities, in our respective organizations, what are we going to do about HIV prevention? So we also want to hear from you, your ideas, your thoughts, and insights. So without wasting much time, let me invite Definite now more from Nigeria, Zimbabwe, just to share with us like an overview of our HIV response. What are some of the efforts that are currently going on? But also maybe highlight some of the gaps that are still there as far as HIV prevention is concerned. So over to you, Deb. I hope you can hear me. Yeah, I hope you can hear me now. Can you hear me now? Great. So thanks for being the opportunity. So I'm going to talk to you today about HIV prevention. Is this the right place? Is this the right time for HIV prevention? So this is my presentation outline. And I thought just to start us off, next slide please. Just to start us off, I thought I would show this heat map from DNA. And when you look at this heat map, so the darker the color, the more the HIV. So you see from this map that the epicenter of HIV is really in Eastern and Southern Africa. And that's why we are here today. And from there, I thought I would also just show this slide that shows where the new infections are coming from by the subpopulation across the globe. Next slide, please. So we all know that just in 2022 alone, we had 1.3 million new infections. And 46% of these new infections
came from women and girls. So this is really the set picture. Next slide, please. So looking at this graph that shows us new infections across all ages, we'll see that a lot of work has happened in terms of trying to close the tap on new infections. And when you look at from 2010 to 2023, there's been a lot of new infections that have been addressed. So there's been a steady progress in that area. But then what we also see is a plateauing, projected plateauing of these new infections beyond 2025. And yet, we do have targets to say that by 2025, we need to reduce the number of new infections to less than 370,000. Specifically, we are targeting to reduce the number of infections to below 50,000 for adolescent girls and young women. So with this projected plateau beyond 2025, will we meet the 2025 targets? I think that's the big question for us today. Next slide, please. So in terms of tools, what tools do we have in place to make sure we close the tap on new infections? So we have a lot of beautiful strategies, a lot of documents that are there and they're very useful. We have the prevention roadmap, we have the global AIDS strategy, we have the global health center strategy. But how are we implementing these strategies? So these strategies are good on paper, but we failed to meet our 2025 targets. So do we think we are on track if you continue on this trajectory? So I really wanted to zero in on the 10-point action plan. On the 10-point action plan for HIV prevention, HIV prevention roadmap. And with this 10 action point plan, I just wanted to zero in on 2 action points. So point number 8 and point number 2. So point number 8 talks about rapid introduction of prevention technologies. So I'll talk more about that. And point number 2 speaks to precision prevention. So in terms of new introduction of new HIV prevention technologies, we have a really exciting pipeline that we have. So when you look at the first block, it's talking about currently available options within the prevention basket. So the recent edition there is the oral PrEP is now readily available in most facilities in most countries. But I wanted to speak of the second column that speaks of newly approved and recommended options, and specifically talk about the people review and the long-acting carboplatin injectable. So we do know that through DSID funded mechanisms, we have a project called Mosaic, which is implementing an implementation science project called Catalyst. And through this mechanism, the idea behind this is to try and demonstrate how to implement choice in HIV prevention in 5 countries. So Zimbabwe, South Africa, Kenya, Lesotho, and Uganda. So we see how implementation science is able to try and demonstrate how real-world setting choice will be implemented. And beyond this implementation science, the hope is that these products will be put to scale in all these 5 countries and beyond. So the third, moving on to the third column, it speaks to products that are in development. There are some of them are in efficacy trials, some of them are just bioequivalence trials. And I really wanted to just point out the drug prevention pill, which we all heard from this conference, exciting news from the bioequivalence study. So these products are well underway, and especially for the GDP, we are expecting to have on the shelves sometime next year. And then moving on to the next column of this, we are looking at products that are in development, some in preclinical, some in clinical phase, some in first in human trials. So again, there's another exciting SIT mechanism called matrix that has an exciting pipeline of these new prevention options that are still early on in development, but it's got a good range. It's got some fast dissolving insect, some injectables, some films, some inserts, some greens. Some of them are dual protections. Some of them are expected to have multiple indications. So this is quite exciting in terms of what's in the pipeline. Next slide, please. So, what is the future of these new prevention options? So there's really a need to shorten the time between research to delivery. With all the experience with us through oral prep, through some of these prevention options, we really need to shorten the time between research to delivery so that we get these products in the hands of the people who need it the most and close the tap on new infections. We need to continue expanding the HIV prevention basket. We need to get more dual protection, more multi-purpose prevention technologies so that an individual will get one product, more than two indications, more than one indication, and it reduces the trips to go to the health facility. We need to work within a multi-sectorial approach, work together with researchers, policymakers, advocates, implementers, civil society, and advocates, so that we all are speaking, we are all sitting around the table, and we reduce the time from research to delivery. And we also anticipate a wider choice in HIV prevention. We anticipate more women-controlled products. We anticipate more discrete choices, more short-acting and long-acting products, so that each individual will get a product that suits their lifestyle. So now moving on to the second point on the 10 action point, now precision prevention. So this really talks to individual vulnerability, and when designing and testing prevention options, we all know that everyone is unique and they have unique preferences. And these preferences are not static, but they tend to change all the time depending on what everyone is in their life journey. And precision prevention also includes the differentiated service delivery mechanisms that we have, plus more. But it assumes that the preferred options the preferred effective options are readily available, and they are in the right place at the right time, in the right quantities, with the right quality that the individual requires. So what has worked, if we look back in the past 10 years, we've really seen a drop in new infections. We are seeing falling AIDS-related deaths. We are seeing a reduction in HIV prevalence. And we are seeing all these new prevention options coming to the market. We've also seen the VNC coverage, which is relatively higher now compared to the initial trials of the required trials in back in 1994 to 1998. We've also seen increased testing coverage. We know that HIV testing is the gateway to prevention. So if you do not get this right, it means that cascade is a risk of not succeeding. So we've seen expanded HIV testing services and also expanded modalities of HIV testing. And we've seen increased KP population programming, expanded access to art, and STI screening and treatment. Next slide. So in summary, I really wanted to end by saying we've seen a lot of progress that has been made in the past decade. And if we look back Do we think this is the time to stop, reflect, and re-strategize on the various strategies that we are implementing? We've got all these nice strategies in place. Are we implementing them? Do we need to start doing things differently? We have more options, and we know that more options are likely going to lead to greater uptake and effective use. We need to think more about person-centered approaches so that everyone is able to get personalized services. We have several products in different stages in our development in the pipeline. Some have been approved by regulatory authorities, some are in demonstration, I talked before the patent implementation trials, some are in clinical trials, maybe phase 2, phase 3, some are first in human trials, just coming from PET studies into first in human trials. So the pipeline has never been more exciting for us. And never in history we had such a pipeline that's exciting at all the different stages. So as stakeholders today, whether you identify as a policymaker, as a researcher, as a regulator, as part of civil society, as an implementing partner, as an end user, or as an advocate, this is the right place, you are in the right place, and this is the right time, and the time to act is now. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dave. I couldn't agree with you more. This is the right time for us to act. Yeah, right now is the time. It is the time for us to take action as far as the prevention is concerned. So thank you so much for giving us that great overview, comprehensive overview actually, on some of the action that are going on, efforts that are going on with regards to HIV prevention. Thank you so much actually for reminding us about HIV prevention, specifically some of the key information that they take action at that point. I think you also reflected on the importance of choice in your presentation, which is actually a great segue into our next speaker. So may I ask you to keep noting down your questions because we'll have ample time towards the end of the discussion for you to ask questions. I also remember I said we'd like to hear from you. So our next speaker is Yvette Raphael from APRA, who is going to actually unpack, because we've heard a lot about choice in this conference. So she's also going to help unpack what we mean by choice. And she's going to talk about some of the work that the African Women HIV Prevention Accountability Board is actually doing to advance, this choice agenda, HIV prevention choice agenda. So over to you.
Thank you so much for it. And can somebody close the door for us? It's just very good. Can you not hear me? Okay. All right. So thank you so much, and thanks, Deb, for your very comprehensive presentation, as well as reminding us that we are at the right time in the right place. And I will not delve too much into the choice manifesto because I think Chichi, you would go a little bit into that if you are prepared for it. But first of all, when we talk about right time and right place, we have to think about what we as advocates do. And one of the great things that came out of thinking about the right time is the formation of the African Women's Accountability Board that was actually formed at the center of our advocacy for the covering ring. But that is when we realized that the African Women's Prevention Accountability Board is that even if we want to talk about one product, there are still many other products that are not moving as fast as we can. And especially in the African context, what is happening is that the young girls, the HYW, continue to be infected with HIV. So just a little brief about the African Women's Accountability Board. It is a group of 12 women from 6 countries that came together to champion, the choice manifesto, which we will talk a little bit about in a few minutes. But the idea was for us to work in the African context because some of these issues facing young women and girls are very centered to the HIV prevention agenda. And we are we're a diverse group. What we do is we basically from East and Southern Africa. Choice and access is at the epicenter, is at the center of the work we do. We are a very intergenerational group. We have young women in the leadership positions. We also have young women taking part and leading some of the work that we do. What we are looking for is ensuring that there's policy change and, importantly, there's finance for choice. More often than not, we see that products are developed in our countries. Our young people take part in this work, and women are part of studies. But for these modalities to become available in our countries becomes difficult because financing these options often become a problem. So when we speak about financing, we're also talking about urging our governments to really invest in healthcare, really invest in HIV prevention, but more importantly, is for the developers of these products to ensure that when they talk about these new exciting options, they have the end user in mind to think about why are they developing it. And if you're developing any product with Africa in mind, you would know that there is no finances to buy something at a high cost. Our engagement is really national, regional, and at global levels, and this accountability board is the Secretariat sits at APA, Advocates for the Prevention of HIV in Africa, ICW, as well as Waki Health, who is responsible for our communication. And our membership is really to ensure it's really Africa and regionally based, and we engage with key community organizations. We have a long history of the work that we do, but notably to say that women in Africa spearheaded accountability or advisory groups, and we remember the work that women did with the ECHO study, understanding that the ECHO trial is going to impact women on the ground, and how are we going to engage these women on the ground, talking about the study as it was, and we are working on that structure. What we do, we also importantly mentor young women and girls, and many of them are here at the conference to ensure that they are not only at the table, they are not only part of the work, but they help us with the decision making as well as informing some of the decisions that are made. We are prioritizing the choice advocacy, engaging in advocacy at all levels, as I mentioned before, but also the engagement of regulatory authorities. In many of our countries, we know that if the FDA approves, SAHPRA approves, a lot moves around Africa. But if none of the advocacy happens at this level, really nothing moves, because some of the dossiers are just forgotten by the regulatory authorities. Like I said, mentioned before, advocating for choice and advocating that change happens. We had a huge success in the work that we do, and many of our achievements involved in gaining the support and also subsequently having Ms. the EXD of UNAIDS sign on to the Choice Manifesto. We've really had high-level meetings with Ambassador John Nkeka leading to summoning his scientific committee to meet with us with clear recommendation around the ring. We also met with the EMA, advocating for funding for PEPFAR, and as we now know, PEPFAR has donated links to the study that you mentioned. Therefore, we've also advocated for choice, and not only choice in the form of modalities, but a choice counseling manual that happens in some of the countries where we are, where young people are actually given an understanding of what it means to make a choice and a decision for yourself. We've done great work in Africa, and what we really are excited about is the Global Fund commitment to fund the DVR as a game changer, and obviously, as I mentioned, the launch of the Choice Manifesto. We work with a lot of organizations, and at the center of those organizations are the community organizations that have regional reach. So ICW, APA, Waki Health, all of these organizations are part of this great work. Our opportunities is building an African women's leadership. It's important for us to remember that leadership in Africa is always being shunned upon. So how are we going to work towards building a cadre of young people, a cadre of leaders in Africa that is able to take forward the work that we are currently doing? We are at a very important space in HIV prevention and research, which talks about us ensuring that choice becomes a reality, but also that we do not lose the current base that we've made, including talking about the PrEP and PEP, all of those things that are already available. I see there's a huge, we're almost forgetting about the importance of condoms. So how do we ensure that we do not lose those gains? And setting an agenda for Africa for HIV prevention, set a century choice. So we've done a great deal. The Choice Manifesto is a aspirational document, and I urge some of us, everyone to sign on to it, because it's an aspirational document done by women who are currently HIV positive and not HIV positive, to see a future for young people without HIV. And it's important that people sign on to it. It's an HIV-free generation. You don't have to worry about any of those, legal frameworks, whether you are being coerced. The idea is to just ensure that when people, policymakers, countries, Department of Health, and organizations make decisions about programming, they really think about how are they contributing around the Choice Manifesto. This Choice Manifesto is available and can be made available through our websites to look at and see if people want to sign on. But the idea is to have everyone sign on to it and focus around bringing down not only closing the tap, but ensuring young people don't continue to get infected with HIV in Africa at the rates that they are getting infected in. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Yvette. That was also super comprehensive, just highlighting some of the work that the African Organization Prevention Accountability Board is actually doing to advance this HIV agenda across the continent. And just to say that, so the four of us in France are actually part of this top women that we just talked about. And I know there are also some members of the Secrets, she's also a member. So if you would like to hear more about it, if you would like to, after the session, feel free to meet us, and you can always hear more information. And I hope after hearing that presentation from Yvette, you will make a decision to sign on to this choice manifesto. You will be doing a choice to advance this prevention agenda. So next will be Chichi. Chichi will just start the conversation. If I see it, we need, as we go out of the city, we need to have an idea what's going to happen next. So Chichi is going to just always initiate the conversation of what should happen next after this conference. What are we going to do in our respective organizations as well as in our respective capacities, but also to at least briefly speak to this choice manifesto which you just talked about. So over to you, Chichi.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone. I would like to just give a brief introduction of what the Choice Manifesto is. So the Choice Manifesto is a collection of voices from diverse women who are feminists, HIV prevention advocates, and young women themselves from Eastern South Africa who are united in calling for financial and political support in order to advance choice. In our Choice Manifesto, there are two important things that we always want to define. We have the options. What are these options and why do we place emphasis on defining these options? Firstly, options are safe and effective options, biomedical options that prevent HIV, and these options cannot come into existence minus investment in research and development. And hence, there is more need more than ever, and this is the right time and the right place to talk about funding to ensure that as researchers want to do this work, there should be adequate funding to ensure that these options are made available. But again, one would wonder, why are we talking about choice? Why is it important in HIV prevention? By definition, choice is the ability for an individual to actually select from an array of options in order to prevent themselves from acquiring HIV. This is a very simple definition, but it has implications on how their choice can be realized. For example, if a young person or a young woman walks into a facility, in as much as there are all these options available, and there is no policy direction to ensure that there is choice counseling, to ensure that these healthcare providers fully understand what choice should mean without coercion, then it cannot happen. And in the choice manifesto, we've been deliberate to ensure that as we talk about choice, we want to engage with policymakers to translate choice in the prevention guidelines, in the country context documents that speak to HIV prevention programs and implementation. I just wanted to touch base about the choice manifesto in brief. So now, when you ask me about what should happen when we go back, communities have been leading, just like this year's World AIDS Day theme to talk about communities lead. They have been leading, and I think we haven't done more in appreciating the women and the girls that have been putting their lives in these researches to actually contribute to science. They have been able to actually put forward everything in them to ensure that these options are made available. But then the problem comes when the research is done. How long does it take for these women to actually get access to these products? What should it take for those products to get in the hands of those young women, or the women themselves? Because they have answered the research question. More than ever, it is very important that we need to ensure that these products or options like the recovery ring, the injectable PrEP, gets in the hands of the end users. And this cannot happen in a vacuum. There is a need for investment that should happen. But before that happens, we need to ensure that there is accessibility, there is availability of these products, and they are affordable. Because to what end, if you develop products that can't be accessible, or products that can't be affordable, and these end users can't use them, that is a big problem that we are grappling with as women from East and Southern Africa. I would also like to add that more than ever, the environment seems not to be very conducive or supportive, especially when it comes to policies. We are diverse in nature, but we keep on seeing that the environment, policy-wise, is not so supportive. When we go back, one thing that, in fact, before we actually go back, we need to see commitment from our leaders on what next or what should it take for them to give us supportive environment that should actually enable us to offer services to our communities in our diversity and have all these services without a biased lens. Because we can't get to 2030 with a biased lens and leaving other populations behind. Also, I would like to bring to your attention on the need of investment in a comprehensive framework for community and youth engagement. More than ever, communities are involved to some extent, but it's always submissive. It's as and when government wants us to come to the table. More than ever, even pharmaceutical companies, they will come to us when they want to take the box. But we don't want that to continue. We want to see an environment where our engagement is well defined as communities. Our engagement is valued, and our perspectives are actually taken into perspective. Lastly, I would like to also talk about the collaboration and partnership. In most of the sessions in this conference, we've been talking about partnerships and collaborations, but to what end will these partnerships come to be a reality? We need to be intentional at making sure that while we chant communities lead, while we chant centering communities, what are we doing as partners? How are we going to ensure that we don't look at communities to just be end users or the people that we just produce products for? They have a lot of information and expertise they have answers to some of the questions that needs to be answered for implementation to actually be a success. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Gigi, for that briefing for the choice and this, also for reminding us what we should do next when we go back in our respective countries, but also in our respective capacities in the work that we do. So we've heard from three amazing speakers. They just gave us an overview of the Asian education landscape, but also some of the exciting projects, that are in the sidelines. We talked about the dual period in some of the German campus foundation programs that are actually in the pipeline, which we are all excited about, because we know that matters. Yes, we talk about it, but people also have other needs, we also have other needs. So the more we have campus foundation programs, the more we are able to come up with programs that can prevent multiple sexually transmitted infections, but also to talk about the progress and the impact, but also the need to shorten the time from sexual implementation, which I think she also touched on. And we really talk about the African Women HIV Foundation Accountability Board, some of the amazing work that this board is doing. They are kind of the leaders that have been connected, but also some of the key stakeholders that have already signed on to this choice and this reform. You also made that decision after the decision to thank you. And lastly, she just talked about choosing this, so the importance, she reminded us about the importance of communication, efforts, which is the thing to do this, as she also reminded us, but also again, the importance of making sure that they don't make these young women that are dedicated their life, their time, and resources to participate in this session, that they wait too long for them to have access to these products, especially those that are potentially effective. So I just wanted now to pause and see if there are any questions, but also if there are any reflections from the audience, your comments, additional suggestions in terms of what should happen moving forward. So if there are any questions, feel free to come forward. I think we should have a mic. So, yeah. And please introduce yourself before you ask the question.
Thank you. I'd like to first congratulate this 4-hour development training convention. It's a very great session that is reminding us of the urgency that the time is now to try to check prevention. But I think most importantly, it's very hard to do, and I'm trying to congratulate that this 4-hour is made up of AVEC fellowship and ICASA. I will have that and ICASA since 2009. We have a this is very great. I have nothing to say, but just to really acknowledge that in many other fellows, in fact, just like that fellowship, which is very trying to HIV fellowship in Africa, that please speak to them in some point. Thank you.
Thank you so much, I really appreciate that.
Microphone on. Thank you for the wonderful presentations. So as I've been hearing the choice conversation as the conference has been going, I was thinking through, do we have a plan around engaging men and males in this conversation? And I know it sounds like rhetoric, but some of the communities we're coming from, when we look at drivers of GBV, is that disconnect. So an example, just being very practical, I'm finding my girlfriend on a product and I'm reading ARVs. And that gap in knowledge in itself can cause something that could be devastating. Just using that as an example. So are we thinking through, I know this should be led and this should be, a women-driven agenda, but do we have a plan around how we beginning to open spaces for men to also weigh in. Thank you.
So when we can respond, yeah, there's a question. Yeah, so thank you so much for raising that question. It's really an important question because I think most of the times in the case on our information services always rely on women to reach out to with their partners so that they can reach men. But I think we need to start thinking about how do we start engaging men directly so that they also they are comfortable, they take action, they realize they have the responsibility, they also need to take care of their own health, but also protect their partner. And I think today, actually, all five, that we are sure to launch a strategy and imagine being how we will do it. So I was so excited about because I think that this focus is talking about engaging men, but we haven't really made the plan. So I think that's it. It's start, that's strategy, but I'll let my colleagues also maybe just ask, like, how do we want to engage men?
Thanks, Joseph, for that question. I think the realization is there that men need to be engaged because the women are also engaged with the men. So there are several efforts to do that. Under Catalyst, there are consultations with partners. So partners for those women who are in the implementation studies, so they are being engaged with, we have qualitative interviews with them to try and understand what they think about these products. If their partner comes home with a ring, what does that mean? So that's happening. Under Matrix again, partners are being consulted on these products earlier on before the products are even going into clinical trials or first human trials. And under ICASA, which is another research funding mechanism, we are also having consultations with partners of women around HIV prevention, what are their thoughts, what are their fears, how best to engage with them going forward. So the efforts have started happening. I know we need to do more, but I wanted to just highlight some of the efforts that are happening.
Okay, I can see in front of you worried about me answering this question. But I think Joseph, great question. And I think it's important for us to remember that I challenge you and Daniel to engage men to start talking to these issues. It's an extra burden on women. Every time when we have to deal with our issues, we have to think, what about the men? We are ready to think about what about the men when we put in the vaginal ring. I think men need to start these conversations. Your conversation, and because I know you guys well, is how are we going to ensure that these interventions that you and Daniel are going to start after this meeting are funded by without you taking away from women. So I think most of the time is that we feel that every time we speak about women, we're going to have to ask about what about the men. And I'd say I'm gladly supported if men lead that conversation by men for men. Without men, it can't happen. So thank you.
Yeah, so thank you so much, Yvette and Dave, and for sharing that. I don't know, maybe we can take one last person, and then we close.
Good afternoon. Thank you for the beautiful presentation. I just wanted to talk about engagement of women in research and how we delay or delay to engage us in study trials because we are women and we are bearing children age, and how that translates to access to services. And also, just to re-echo that, we are at the point that we are going to rally women to say we are not going to do trials again if we don't have a plan on how to get these products to women and girls at the end of the day. Because we participate in trials and then at the end of the day we are faced with the numbers, the demand, the whatnot, and that is not what is told to us while we are starting the trial. So we want space to get answers, and once we get the answer, we anticipate that then we will be able to use products, and it is sad that it keeps on taking a long time while we keep having the number of new patients increase.
Thank you so much, Shakira, for sharing those insights. I think we can take one more. I know there's a very common question.
Thank you so much, and good afternoon. I'm Tabani Spencer from the UNFPA. Thank you so much for the presentation. I think it's good that you're working on the choice manifesto, which is very critical for women. Most of the time, women are the ones who take the burdens of doing and ensuring that the HIV prevention is really done. But I wanted to add to say, as well looking into the choices and ensuring that us as women have the choice, but let us not forget the condom, because sometimes as you do have the rings, have the pills, at the end there are other risks that are there in terms of STI, in terms of other sicknesses. So maybe as you do the manifesto, let us also try to pair it with the condom so that you're able to benefit more actually in terms of the HIV prevention. Maybe lastly, start on the sustainability as we are advocating and ensuring that the funding is there, but at the end, there is need for sustainability in terms of advocating with our government so that we don't rely on us only, but the government is also involved. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for that. And totally agree with you on the condom. I think that's the living in a time where STIs is also becoming a big concern in public health. Someone just reminded us yesterday that actually at the moment the only dual prevention tool that we have for HIV and STI is condoms. So let's not forget condoms. I think as we're talking about HIV prevention, let's make sure that we continue to include condoms as part of the package. So thank you so much. Maybe in conclusion, I'll just like to summarize that I think there are a number of issues that have actually come out. So as we're going back home, we need to continue engaging young people in our HIV prevention efforts. But also, I think the importance, if we have some researchers with the role, regulatory authorities, government policymakers, I think we talked about the importance of making sure that we shorten the time of the period from research to implementation, because we don't want to keep women or young people waiting for a long time for that they are participating in research, but also the importance of embracing community leadership. Let's not just be like a specific thing that we talk about, but I think we need to invest in it, because we need leadership. We need to provide the spaces where community can actually live, but also empower the community, give them the resources and everything they need, the structure they need for them to be able to live, but also the importance of partnership, equal partnership. What we want to see is equal partnership, not realistic partnerships. And also, we hope, as they say, we hope Joseph and Tano, after this conference, we started initiating the conversations around the importance of engaging them. And I think the strategy that was launched in the video just this afternoon, I think would be a great starting point to start initiating those conversations in our respective countries. And my sister just talked about the importance of the condoms in our HIV community. We need to continue preaching the gospel around condoms. And lastly, we hope as we're going back home, as we're reflecting on the discussion that we've had this afternoon, you make a decision to try to sign on to this choice manifesto, but also sharing others that you don't have the opportunity to be part of this conference. So in conclusion, I would like to thank my amazing speakers for your insights and for everything that you, for all of you, for your active participation, for all the insights that you shared. Thank you so much. Wishing you a great conference, a safe travel.